Hello, I'm Maya Clay, and this is my application video for Code Platoon, Romeo Platoon. So to start off with the questions from the application, the first question is, tell us about a time that you had to learn something new. What was it? How did you approach learning it? And in hindsight, what would you do differently? So the example that comes to mind for me is about renovating our house. My husband and I bought a 107-year-old house in Capitol Hill 2 years ago, and the only way that we were able to afford this house is by us doing most of the renovations ourselves. So we both had a background of doing renovations in the past. However, one project that we had never done before is installing butcher block countertops. So the steps that we took to prepare for this, we did lots of research on the best wood types that we should use, and we researched how to install by looking up countless videos for how do you install this, how do you do it as a DIY project. We also searched lots and lots of blogs, and of course countless episodes of This Old House. We sketched out the design with different measurements for the kitchen countertops, and then we purchased the supplies and acquired tools. Lots of the experience that we had was learning moments. So when things didn't go exactly as planned, that was when we sort of had a wake-up call. So what we learned is that you can watch all the videos you want, but things are always going to come up. And you can take all the lessons you want, but you're always going to have to make up for things that were unexpected. So when we were going through our kitchen, for example, we found that there was a large hole in the walls behind the dishwasher that the previous owner had never repaired. Also, we found some shoddy plumbing. These were all things that we had to repair and take care of in the process that we didn't anticipate. We had to make last-minute runs to the hardware stores for different parts so that we could get the things that worked out better, because although you may have parts that work, what we learned is that it's better to just take the time and go get the correct items so that things are set up as they should be. No matter how much you prepare, you still may not always be ready. And that can sort of be similar to coding, because there's always something new coming up that you'll have to Google or refresh up on. And that's the only way that you can get the perfect product, is by being open to repairs or updates to try to come up with the final product that you were imagining. Additionally, we had to redo some things to make sure that it was done right, although we'd already put in a lot of work. So for instance, we redid a lot of the sanding, and we bought a different type of sander and a different type of stain because we didn't like the initial ones. The reason I say this is that in hindsight, what I would have done is that I would have sampled a smaller section so that I can make sure that the outcome was correct. This is similar to if you're, for instance, right now when I'm learning JavaScript, when you're testing your code as you go to make sure that it works before you get to your final product. So that is my learning lesson. For question number 2, why are you interested in programming? So for me, I hadn't really done any sort of programming, at least not since my wonderful MySpace days back in middle school, until I was in my second year of my MBA. I had the opportunity to take a Python for Managers course. They mostly focused on more so higher level information and just learning the basics. Honestly, I never thought I would use it again until I got to my job, which was my payback tour, and realized that I was actually able to read and follow along and understand the coding that our contractors were using to deliver a lot of our critical reports. So that was actually a good lesson to see that, hey, this is actually applicable and something that can be used in everyday life. Additionally, I've taken a SQL course for beginners through Solo Learn, and of course I took the intro to coding for Code Platoon. And in 2018, when my husband was deployed, I started a blog. It's toolandtools.com. I enjoyed it, but what I saw was that I didn't really have control to change it the way that I wanted to, because I didn't know how to actually do the coding myself. In addition to that, programming just really reminds me of the small things that make me happy. Doing Sudokus, doing Wordle, if you all are up to date on that. Or 10 years ago when I was studying for the LSAT, I hated studying for that test, except for the logic games. I could have done those all day, and that's sort of the feeling that I get when I'm doing any of this coding. On top of that, I just love, like I said, DIY. I love doing things myself, and I like being able to create something from the ground up and have access to do it myself and not rely on anyone else. And for this next part, I will show you all my video on how to solve question number 5 of the Romeo Platoon application. Thank you.